She is back. Good morning to you, Sienna Mannix.
Good morning, gentlemen. My, that never gets old.
No, we are, but it never does. If only Ultravox had have recorded the song as Vienna rather than Sienna, we wouldn't have had to sing, but we will sing. It is 10:15. No, it's not 10:15. It's 9:15 o'clock here on 94.7 The Pulse. Welcome, Sienna, to talk to us about women's sport. Sorry, we're being a bit distracted as well. We've got phones going off and all sorts of stuff here. What do you got for us today?
Well, I thought we could go over a little bit of football with the AFL women's and then maybe even go a little bit into cricket.
Well, let's kick it off. Go right. You've got the ball in your hand. Off you go. Bounce it.
Oh, goodness, here it goes. All right, so we'll start with the best and fairest night with the AFL women's. Obviously, as all the news was broken out, Emily Bates won with 21 votes. For anybody who's listening doesn't know who that is, that's the Brisbane vice-captain.
It's interesting you should say that. That's exactly how she was introduced on commercial radio in Melbourne the other day. For those who don't know who she is, they should be embarrassed that they don't know who she is. Anyway, sorry, I'll get off my pedestal now. Keep going.
No, you're perfectly fine. I just always want to cover all grounds.
No, thank you.
But she really just won completely through the night. She also won the AFL-PA Most Valuable Player Award, as well as the AFL-CA Champion Player of the Year.
That's the Coaches Association?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is just a massive night for a 26-year-old midfielder, I'd say.
Well, I think the other thing that's interesting, Sienna, and obviously I have a vested interest in the Brisbane Lions, as regular listeners may have picked up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but she scored 21 votes in 10 games, and we should also acknowledge Anne Hatchard, who came second, and she scored 20 votes. If you convert that to a 22-game season, as it would be for the men's, that's 45 votes in a season. And I think 35 is the record in the Brownlows. So both players absolutely dominated the season.
Yeah, and well done to them too. Absolutely well deserved.
And I think Ebony Marinoff came in third.
Yes, correct.
So, again, another Adelaide player. So 2 Adelaide players coming in second and third with that number of votes means that, here's a tip for the Melbourne team. If you can stop those 2 today, you might have a chance.
Yes, no, exactly. Just before we head down and talk about a bit of the grand final today, obviously another event that happened at the Best and Fairest night was Coach Craig Starkovich doing a shoey.
Yes, I did see that.
That was very modern of him, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, apparently the girls had said to him, if she wins it, you've got to do it. And he did.
Broke the tradition, though. Was it orange juice, I believe?
Well, I think it was orange juice because he was being responsible, because we always encourage...
Hang on, wait, sorry. He's drinking something out of his shoe, but he took the time to be responsible.
Yes.
Okay, right.
So
I've got it.
I love orange juice, but that sort of taste of I've had my dress shoes on for 3 hours and the smelly sock kind of taste to it. I don't know about that.
Yeah, look, I think we should just go back to the days where it was an Australian gig if you had the Nutbush playing.
Yeah. Welcome to Robinvale, everybody.
And still talking about Craig Starkovich, I think it was just a little bit of ironic timing given his expression at the post-match press conference last week, where he was talking about the expansion in the AFL women and how they're bringing in these new teams. And he was rather upset, which understandably. And he was just explaining how it just never helps them. They're the ones who are putting in the time developing players and relationships, and it's just disruptive. They're the ones who put in that effort and they're missing out in the long run.
It's an interesting point he makes, because if you go back to the expansion in 1987 when the Brisbane Bears came into the AFL, this probably predates you, Sienna, but that's okay. It's a good history lesson for you.
One of the great embarrassments of football administration.
All of the teams in the AFL at the time, or the VFL as it was in those days, were told they had to supply 3 players from their list. So you can imagine they went out and said, we're going to give you our 3 best players. So most of the clubs either got rid of players who were disgruntled or players who were no good. Now, if the AFLW was serious, they would say, okay, you can go and encourage people to come to your new club if that's what they want to do, but let's put a limit on it. Let's say you can only have 2 players from each club, because there have been 2 or 3 clubs who have been absolutely torn apart by the expansion, and I think one of the clubs he was involved in, how many clubs has he been involved in? One of the clubs he's been involved in has been on the rough end of that pineapple.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's very, very poorly organised. It's not in pursuing the dollar value. I think they've put the whole thing at risk a bit by keeping the standard below where it could be. If this was grown slowly and naturally in so many ways, the style of game, everything, it annoys me. It could have been done so much better, and they're still not learning. Frustrating. Anyway, that's my beef. Might have a bigger one later.
We might. So, turning it back to the positive of the grand final today.
Yes, so the grand final is playing today in Adelaide at 12:30 this time for Victoria. It's Adelaide versus Melbourne, and they've even tried to bring in some of the entertainment value, where they've got ARIA award-winning Jessica Malboy performing in the halftime entertainment. And I think there will be a lot of media focus on this, because it is the last final decider before that expansion to 18 teams starts. And so people are a little bit unsure how to view this.
I think the Melbourne media know exactly how to view this, and that is it's Daisy Pearce's chance to win a premiership. That has been the narrative all week, and I've got to say, during last week's broadcast of the Melbourne-Brisbane game, that was the only thing that mattered in the entire commentary.
And also at the Geelong level, it's Lily Mithen's chance too.
No, forget it. Is she playing, is she? I thought it was actually Adelaide versus Daisy Pearce.
No, Lily's playing.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's more than one going out there. Okay. Melbourne played really well last week in horrific conditions. It was just a shocking day in Melbourne, playing on the MCG. But yes, Adelaide just keep on keeping on, don't they?
Yeah. And I think that focus, I know that a lot of the media is focusing on your Daisy Pearce and your Erin Phillips, because they're looking at it as it could be their last game, which is just taking it away from the other girls in the team, like you said.
I think it's been Erin Phillips' last game for about the last 4 years, hasn't it?
Will she play with Port Adelaide next year?
Ooh,
no.
No.
Do you want to anything you want to add to that? Maybe
I think she will coach Port Adelaide next year. I don't think she'll play. I think her knees are shot.
Okay.
I think she's just going at the minute in terms of if she was a full-time footballer and, she didn't have to work, I think she's got some kind of promotional work. Apparently she can't walk during the week.
Okay, I'll rephrase the question. Do you think Erin Phillips will have anything to do with the Port Adelaide franchise next year?
Absolutely. She'll be coaching them, I think.
Yeah.
They'd be crazy not to.
Yeah. She sounds like the ideal person to start that going, based on the fact that her heart and soul is in that franchise, is it not?
She might actually play for the men's team. Sorry, that was unfair. So you're no doubt going to be sitting watching the game. Sienna, how do you think it might unfold?
Oh, look, if there's one thing I've learned, it's you can't predict grand finals. Obviously, looking through the season, I'm sort of tipping towards Adelaide, but I'm also never been a gambler. I can't put a bet on anything. It'll be interesting to see how it folds out.
There's something else you can guarantee on Sienna, though. When you take a choice to do sports media as a career, you need to work out who's going to win the grand final. So we'll go back and ask the question again. Sienna, who's going to win the grand final?
I'm going for Adelaide.
You have just been expelled from the sports media of Melbourne group, who absolutely everyone, it's Daisy's dream, I think, at the moment. And the really really good news, Sienna, is that since they've replaced the fencing around the Adelaide Oval and taken away the pickets and put the advertising signs up, it's so much more comfortable to sit on the fence, as you have been doing during that particular assessment of the game.
Thank you very much.
The great thing, and the grand final was in Adelaide last year, and as it should be, because Adelaide finished on above Melbourne and last year finished above Brisbane, so I think it's a great idea that maybe the AFL might take on one day and have it at the ground of the higher ranked team. But the great thing about the Adelaide Oval is it is always packed when the Adelaide girls play there. I would expect a crowd of 35,000 or more.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see that support from the Adelaide group, getting behind the girls and supporting the sport.
To be fair, there's nothing else to do in Adelaide, so I suppose it's nice if there's something going on. Robert, who do you think will win today?
I think Adelaide will win because they're just better and they're playing at home, and we all know how much help that can be. Yeah, Adelaide by a smidgen, and Daisy's dream will be smashed, sadly.
I believe it will be the Adelaide Crows by 2 goals, which will mean that they will have won 3 out of the 5 grand finals that have been on order, having lost last year's. So they've been in 4 of 5. That's the other thing I think will help them.
Yes, well, it'll be interesting to see how that does all fold out later today.
So tell us more about women's cricket then, Sienna.
Yes, so anybody who follows the cricket and is Australian is going to be really happy this week. Obviously, Australia, they won against England by 71 runs in the Women's Cricket World Cup final. Sorry. And if you watched any part of it, if you've heard any of the news, you will know Alyssa Healy's record-breaking innings where she hit 170 off 138 balls.
Yeah, it was an innings to behold, and I think that the delight of, if you put together the highlights package of that innings, it is matched against anyone that has ever played the game, male or female. The skill that she displayed in that innings, second to none, and that's why women's cricket is now, it has its own place. It is no longer playing second fiddle to men's cricket. It is a wonderful, watchable, highly skilled product in its own right, and couldn't be happier. Very impressed.
I might have something to say in the long run.
Ooh.
About it. So you'll have to listen in, Sienna. Yes, the one person I feel the most sorry for is if I had have spoken to one of the English cricket players, and I can't remember her name, and I should remember it, I didn't write it down. If I had have said to her, you're going to go out and make 140 in the World Cup final of cricket, she would walk away going, hey, how good's this? And we're going to win. You have to be stiff, wouldn't you, to peel off 140 in a one-day game and be on the losing side. That's disappointing for her.
Yeah, and I mean, it is disheartening, but I think it just goes to show in the game of cricket, it can easily go either way.
So do you have any sense of when the girls are playing again?
No, I do not actually.
Because they've come off the Ashes series and then pretty much went straight into it, isn't it? So they have had a really good run of it, and I suspect that momentum is helping a bit in the media.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we haven't had any gaps in the media where the women's cricket is concerned, and so it is engaging audiences, and it's constant and it's consistent, so you will find that the younger people are keeping up to date with it.
So some of the old people. I'm looking at old Rob over here. He's even keeping up.
I am.
Hey, maybe I was calling you both young.
Yeah, but you've met both of us.
The shot.
Excellent. Well, Sienna, we have just about come to the end of the line as pertains to this time slot. Anything else you want to slide in there before we go?
No, that's pretty much it in the world of women's sports this week.
Well, they're certainly the big ticket items, aren't they? Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We might talk to you in a fortnight, we may not. It's part of the unpredictability of this radio show.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you for having me.
Very great pleasure. Sienna Mannix, our female sport correspondent. That is to say, our correspondent of female sport. It's evident that she's female and a sport correspondent. Thanks, Sienna.
Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.